welcome back to our little trees mixed media workshop. Before we get started on the painting section, I just wanted to let you know, because I forgot in the last one, is that these layers here of the molding paste, you can actually add as many of them as you want. So how I was saying to keep spots really thick and other spots not, you could start with a really thin layer, let that dry completely, and then go back in and add more on the top, making it thicker, add some more down here, add another layer over the entire thing. It's entirely up to you, and you can build up those layers and make them as dimensional as you want. You just want to make sure that when you're doing it, you let them dry in between everything else. Otherwise, you're going to start peeling off pieces and chunking it up, and it doesn't quite come out right. So build these layers up as much as you want. Just make sure you're drying in between each piece. And then for our painting, we're going to go ahead and move on. And what I have is a mop brush. I have a really small one because what you want to remember in this one is you don't want it to be terribly soft. You want it soft enough that it's going to spread everything out the way it's supposed to, but you also want to make sure that it is hard enough to get in here and really go through all of those texture marks and everything that you have. So you kind of want to make sure it's hard enough, but you also want to make sure it's soft. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind for your painting when you're doing that with your brush. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is for this first piece here, I'm actually going to use 3 different color blues. These are just an apple barrel acrylic. They are a craft acrylic, so they are thinner than a painting acrylic, so it's up to you which one you prefer to use. And I'm going to do this blue one, I think, on this guy here. And I'm just shaking my paints up because I use the lids as my palette instead of actually using a palette. So I'm just going to open all these up here. And this light blue one that I have, for some reason it is actually really, I don't know if it's old or what, but it's kind of chunky. So I'm just going to put a bunch of it off to the side, and I'm going to add a little tiny bit of water to it just so that I can loosen it back up so I can use it. And if any of your craft acrylic paints are a little too chunky, or it's kind of like a glue consistency, you can always add a little bit of acrylic and it'll actually change that consistency for you. So don't forget that you can do that. You don't have to use them the way they are or throw them away. You can always just add a little tiny bit of water. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is we're going to go in here with that mop brush, and I'm going to go with my dark. And I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to kind of circle my paint onto my substrate. And you can do this in any manner that you want to. You can kind of make some stripes in here if you want. You can do random little chunks everywhere. It's up to you how you actually want to put it on here. You can put it in any particular order. You don't have to keep it, you know, the same way in mine. You don't have to do really nice stripes. You don't have to do anything like that. I'm kind of just putting it in here kind of random. And I'm trying to keep it with that edge. You know, I'm going with my landscape edge. I don't want it up here in my sky piece. And the reason that I'm going in circles is, 1, so that it blends in, but also 2, because I really want it to get through all those layers of texture. By circling, you're going around the whole piece, so there's not pieces on the top or on the bottom or the sides or anything that are going to show a bunch of white through it that you missed. So those are 2 reasons that I'm doing circles. Okay, now I'm just going to move on, and you can use a wet wipe or some water or something in between these and kind of dry out your brush so you don't have the exact same color blending in with the other one. You do want your colors to blend a little bit, but you don't want them to become one color. You want to be able to see multiple colors in there. And I'm just going to go through and finish coloring, just like I'm doing with this with my other colors. Okay, so once you got your first layer on there, it's a good idea to just kind of take a look at it and make sure that everything is the way you want it. This light color right here that I used last, because I did mix water with it, it is very liquid and it's very blendy. So especially on this darker shade, it's kind of going over the top of it and creating this different color like here and like here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my darker color again, and I'm just going to go back in over those spots that is kind of creating that other color on. And I'm just going to go back over the top of it really lightly just to get that other color back in there, that darker blue that we started with. Okay, so as you can see, we have this really, really nice, beautiful, multicolored landscape here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move on to my other two pieces, and I'm going to do the landscape part. If you want to do the sky part on each piece individually, like you want to do your landscape and then your sky, you're welcome to do that. I'm going to do all of my landscapes first and then my sky, because my sky on all of them is going to be exactly the same, which is why I'm going to do them all at the same time so that I'm not going back and forth with my brush. But if you want to do your sky as each separate piece, you're more than welcome to. That's entirely up to you. Just kind of skip through this next one that I'm going to do, where I'm going to do the rest of my landscapes, okay? Okay, so there's just a couple of things that I want to touch on super quick. I know that I said you want to stay out of your skyline as much as possible, but you also want to make sure that you're getting the top edge of your landscape up here, just so that when you hold it up or it's sitting like this or somebody looks at it from this direction, you don't see a bunch of white here along your landscape edge. Okay, so just kind of make sure that you go over that a little bit and make sure that you cover that white up. If you want, if you go into your skyline once you're done, if you're not using a skyline color that's going to cover that up, you can always take some white gesso and you can go over the top of your skyline right here along the edge and make it white again. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're doing it. Also, as you can see, I used 3 very different palette colors. I have a bunch of oranges here, blues, and greens here. I love to do variation because I don't want it one color. So that's why I have 3 colors for each one of these. And it's also something that you can play with. You don't have to do all orange, all blue, all green, all purple. You can do something that has a rainbow in it. You could do 3 different colors, like a yellow or a purple and then a green maybe. You can make it whatever you actually want. You can use more than 3 colors if you want to. These are just very tiny pieces, so when you get more than 3, it's kind of a little overwhelming. If you have a great big piece that you're working on, feel free to play with as many colors as you want. Like I said, make a rainbow if you want. That'd be really fun. It's just up to you what colors you prefer and what you actually want to make them look like.